All right, well, welcome everyone to Daybreak Community Resources webinar. We're really happy you're here, and we really want to help caregivers in our community have access to the amazing resources online and in the community. We're going to go through a lot of information, but we will send out a copy of the presentation so you'll have all the information available to you to refer to, because there will be a lot of links and phone numbers and that sort of thing. But we really wanted to give you a sense of what is out there. So next slide. Roger.
Yeah, this is technical.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I just want to introduce myself, and I am Susan Musicant. I'm a physical therapist with a specialty in geriatrics and a great love for working in this field. And I'll let Melissa, who is also presenting with me on this, also introduce herself now.
I'm Melissa Roman, and I'm the program manager of a very tiny program called Gateway. And later on in the program, I'll tell you more about it. But I've been working with older adults for multiple decades. And one of our big focuses with Gateway is providing resources to help people be proactive about the aging process.
So next slide, please. Yeah, this is my, go-to slide for you all, because it's an amazing amount of access to information for caregivers that you can't even imagine until you open these. The first one is a phone number, 211, which is like 911. In Alameda County, you'll get a live person and they have access to amazing resources. And as we go through this right now, you'll see you'll get some idea of just how many programs are out there, and these people can connect you with them. So this is your thumbnail. You get everything here, okay, for Alameda County. Then there's Alzheimer's Association, which you can put into your search browser, and you will have a chance to see what they offer. And it's likewise unbelievable amount of services, information, connection with other people. We wanted you to know about that. And last but definitely not least is Family Caregiver Alliance, also online, like Alzheimer's and also the Alameda County. The Family Caregiver Alliance is a phenomenal resource. So please put it in your browser when you have a minute and just see how many services are out there for folks. And we'll go to the next slide.
Crisis just ahead. We've all been there, and we all hope to avoid that. And hopefully knowing about what resources are in our community can help us be a little more proactive in avoiding crisis.
But we wanted to let you know what's out there if you are in a crisis. So
too.
Stay tuned for that next slide.
So some really important resources. The first one is the Crisis Support Services of Alameda County. This is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week crisis line. There's the Alzheimer's Association that also has a 24/7 helpline. And the Alzheimer's Association, as Susan just showed on the slide before, there is just a wealth of information as well, from everything to, I can't get my loved one to bathe, to dealing with agitation. It just almost every little behavior you could think of. After a fall, If you need help getting up, you need to know what to do next, call 911. 911 is not just to come pick you up in an ambulance. They can give you that advice over the phone. Adult Protective Services, if you are concerned about your loved one possibly not being treated okay in maybe in a setting they're in, a neighbor, a friend, you can talk to Adult Protective Services and they can lead you through a kind of a network of what steps to take next.
And I'll add, anyone can call and everyone should call if you're worried about someone.
The Suicide Prevention Lifeline, again, all these places, they can talk to you for or as little or as long as you need. They can also provide further referrals. And then there's a medical alert system. This is the, you may see commercials, help, I fell down, I can't get up. This needs to be set up in advance of a crisis. Many health insurance plans are now covering your own medical alert system. But if not, it's certainly something you can purchase. We put VitalLink on here because it's a local company based in Oakland that's very hands-on. They will come out to your home and assess your needs. The most important thing, though, is that you actually have your system with you. If you're not wearing it with you, that you actually take it into the bathroom in the middle of the night, that it's accessible, that if you fall, if something happens, you could actually push that button.
So Melissa, your mother has one. Does she wear it?
Oh, it's in the drawer by her nightstand. So it's nearby. You know, and one more thing about this, though, is I work with a lot of clients who don't have a medical alert system and say they have their phone to use. And they do, like if they're in the bath or shower, their phone is right outside their bath. They take it with them wherever they go. They use that like a medical alert system.
Right.
But, and especially if you're living alone, it's a really, it could be a really important thing in the difference between how severe an injury could be.
And as a caregiver, you may be caring for someone you are not living with. And this is so important that they be able to contact you and get help, because when an older person falls on the floor and lays on the floor, they can sustain a lot of physical damage. So.
Right. And you as the caregiver could also sustain a lot of damage to yourself if you are just trying to pull somebody up. So those body mechanics are really important too. Okay, next slide.
Next slide.
Yeah,
Oh, he's working on it. And, oh, there we go. Okay, so this is a slide just to bring up the topic and explain what it is, respite. And for caregivers, this is any and everything that can help you in your home and outside of your home. So that's what these next slides are. So let's go ahead to the next slide. So this is a photograph of a program in an adult day health program. And the adult day health programs, if you're not familiar with them, please make a point to find out more if you are in the situation of caring for an adult who needs a lot of care. And let's go to the next slide and show you some of what they are. So there are two different kinds, I would say, or let me distinguish between adult day health programs and PACE. Just let me give you an understanding of this for the moment. PACE is a program of all-inclusive care for the elderly. It's a comprehensive program. It is a very helpful program, and I highly recommend it. And they have an adult day health program. But there are also adult day health programs separate from PACE, and they're all listed here for Alameda County. And if you are attending this and you're not in Alameda County, you can go online and find these kinds of things, looking for adult day health programs in your county. They have transportation, they provide a meal, they have activities, they have case managers, they have a nurse who will provide medications. What have I left out, Melissa? Anything? Did I capture most of it?
Well, there's the healthcare part, but what's also so important is there's the socialization. And when you have your loved one living at home with you, and as a caregiver, you are trying to physically take care of them, emotionally take care of them, it's really hard to entertain somebody too and keep them engaged. So someone goes to a program like this, and you saw from the parachute, I mean, there's games, and there's exercise, and there's singing, and intergenerational programs at some. And it's just a very full program. And it's a great way to keep somebody's spirits up, keep them engaged. And we all know over the last few years, we've all felt so much more isolated with the pandemic, that this is just a really important way to give your loved one that socialization. But also, it could, as a caregiver, it could really give you a break. And that's really important.
Really important. And Roger, who is helping us with this presentation, has just been working on something called the co-op for caregivers. And this is an idea that is coming into fruition. And if you connect with our newsletter, we'll keep you in the loop. But it helps to pay for these programs, which are not covered by most insurance, not by Medicare, but Medicaid or Medi-Cal does cover these. So next slide.
Okay. So home care agencies in Alameda County. Where do you start? How do you start? There are some sites, and you've probably seen commercials too. But if you go to this website under Home Health, Home Care, and Hospice Agencies, this is put out by the Department of Adult and Aging Services. And there is a list of agencies that can help you figure out which type of placement do I place my loved one in, and help you figure out, you know, maybe take you to look at places or send you to certain places. And most of these services are actually free to you. In all fairness, they do get paid by the agency when they're placed. But this is a guide, not an endorsement of the agency. And as with anything in caregiving, you're still the one who's really got to check things out. But sometimes we don't even know where to start, especially if it's something that's very urgent. Someone's in the hospital and you find out they can't come home. How do you find the appropriate place? There's all kinds of acronyms from CCRC to RCFEs, and some you buy into, and some are monthly rentals. Some have skilled nursing facilities, some have memory care. So it really helps to have somebody help you navigate this. And then in-home support services. So this, you must have Medi-Cal eligibility to have hours determined by your physician. So what happens is that the doctor will determine that maybe one person's going to get 8 hours a week of IHSS and somebody else might get 30 hours a week. And it's based on how
Can I
much.
interrupt for a
Yeah.
minute? Yeah, so this is free. This is paid for if you have Medi-Cal, okay? And as Melissa is saying, the number of hours is determined in this system. And frequently, the caregivers are family members. And you are, as a family, can apply to do it, or you have to hire your own person. But people do receive some training. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just really wanted people to know it is paid for.
Right. And if you go to this website too, it will also lead you to other sites in terms of how you can hire somebody else. So again, IHSS is not going to just supply a caregiver to come into your home. And you could also put it together. You might have an IHSS worker 2 days a week, and you might cover the other 2. You could combine as long as it doesn't go above those hours. So, and I do want to say here that Susan and I are both going to leave our numbers and our emails at the end of the presentation. And if somebody has very specific issues, questions, you're always welcome to reach out to us.
So next slide is
the senior centers in Alameda County.
Yeah, so take it away, Melissa.
Okay. So there's a range of senior centers, and there's probably even more on this list. I tend to be more familiar with the Berkeley, Albany, Emeryville. I think, Susan, you were more like Oakland, but the one big thing is happening in a lot of our social service agencies is things have not fully opened and fully been staffed up since the pandemic. So we always recommend that you do call, you do check out the websites, but the senior centers offer a range of programs. You may go to your senior center to exercise, you may take an art class, but you also might want to contact your senior center because you're interested in having a hot lunch there. You're interested in finding out what kind of social services they offer.
Let me say that, if I could, that they don't provide transportation generally. And if you are a caregiver, your loved one will not get the supervision. I just want to contrast between a senior center and a day health program.
Right.
And that's a big difference. If you're a caregiver for somebody who needs that kind of supervision, senior centers don't provide that. But they're easy to contact, and you can find out what they're giving, and it's a fantastic resource if that's your situation.
Right. And actually, some senior centers do provide transportation, but somebody has to be considered independent. That you're not going to have any kind of supervision aside from getting you on and off the bus. The door will open and you will go into the center. But the other thing is if you walked into any one of these centers, you would probably find a table with all kinds of brochures and pamphlets, much of what we're talking about in the presentation today. And the staff at these centers are often great resources. If you asked, I need this, I'm looking for that. We never know where we're going to find the answer that really connects with us.
Great. Let's see, next slide is a subject near and dear to my heart. Support groups. And I've led a support group for family caregivers, and I would say of all the things we're going to talk about today, I really want to emphasize that if you're a family caregiver, you need to share your story with other family caregivers, if possible. So next slide, you'll see some of them that are available in the next, oh, there we go. Okay, so Daybreak, which is where I work here in the Bay Area, we have a caregiver support group that I highly recommend. It's facilitated by a clinical psychologist with years of experience with Alzheimer's patients, and it is open and free. Twice a week it meets, and it's an amazing opportunity to get support for you hearing about other people's stories. Then also you see the Alzheimer's Association, and below that Family Caregivers Alliance also have support groups that they can connect you with and are just absolutely, I just can't give you enough reasons why that will make a difference in your caregiving life and wellness and survival and the well-being of your loved one as well. Next slide. So Melissa started to talk about this, residential care facilities. So where can your loved one go to live if you can't continue to help them at home? And maybe some of you are already in that situation, or you just want to be prepared. We highly recommend being prepared. So there are different kinds. We've listed them here: board and care homes, RCFE, which is residential care for the elders, and skilled nursing as sort of the three big categories. Board and care and RCFE are essentially the same, except for board and cares are small. It's really a question of size. They're both certified and regulated, and they're visited periodically to maintain their license. They provide transportation to your medical appointments. They have some activities. The larger RCFE usually is like 100 people, something like that. And they have gyms, and they have hairdressers, and they have different levels of care. But they are both regulated, certified by the state. Some of them have continuum of care where you can, for a fee, you can buy into it. I'm getting into the weeds a bit, but you could, for example, have your loved one in the higher level of care while you are more independent at the same facility. Those are some of the possibilities, and I'm guessing a lot of you know a lot about that. And as you can see, we've given you some links and phone numbers to get more information on this. But when the time comes or you're facing the possibility, you want to have some clue of what's out there. So this gives you an idea of where to look. Yeah, next slide.
So home repair and safety modification. And just a word about resources too. As Susan and I were putting this together, we were like, oh, I've never heard of that one. Oh, you have this one. So finding resources is not rocket science, but there's so much out there. It's, how do you figure out what's going to be important to me? What's going to give me what I need? And of course, now that so many of us use the internet, there's just so much information out there. So this first resource, 7 sources of home repair assistance for seniors. So when I was exploring it the other day, it often actually takes you to some of these other sites. And that's something that's also very common in Alameda County. And you'll see that when we talk about utilities. You'll see one resource that's called something different, but ultimately they take you to the same site. So Alameda County Healthy Homes, when you go on that site, it will say, do you need home repair? Are you low income? You click that and it might take you to Renew Alameda County. So there's lots of avenues. So Renew Alameda County provides 1% interest loans to qualified homeowners. Qualifications in the Bay Area are actually quite high. Every agency is a little bit different. I'm doing a lot of work with Rebuilding Together, and in the Bay Area, for one person, it's about $75,000. So, you know, none of this would be considered low income in most of the country, but it is here. So Renew Alameda County is actually run by Habitat for Humanity, which many of us think about as the organization President Carter really started and grew. So there's a range of different projects that they will do. You have to actually apply. Applications are online, but any of these agencies, you can also call them up and they will send you paper applications. You don't have to do everything online. Rebuilding Together, this is a national organization, and there's East Bay North, which is Berkeley, Albany, Emeryville, El Cerrito, Richmond for the most part. And then there's Rebuilding Together Oakland East Bay, which will do a different area. But if you call one, they will refer you to the right Rebuilding Together. And Rebuilding Together's run what's called a Safe at Home program, where they come and they evaluate your home for safety, and also look at, do you need grab bars, handrails, is your shower accessible? And they will look at the home repairs. It's very limited. They're not going to come in and remodel somebody's entire home and fix the roof. But it's a start, and you could reapply year after year. So Rebuilding Togethers are for homeowners. Renew Alameda County is for homeowners. If you need safety modifications and you are a renter, you can also contact Center for Independent Living, and they can build or install handrails, ramps, and it's often no fee. It could be low cost, and again, it depends on your income. But the important thing is, anytime you contact one of these places, you will probably learn about somewhere else you should look into. So it takes a little bit of time and grease work, but just knowing that there's programs out there that can help.
Great. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, so I took this slide because I'm a physical therapist, and you know, that is the world I live in. And durable medical equipment, which we refer to as DME, and you can see the little pictures below, give you some idea. There's many things to help your loved one be safer in the home. And we can talk more about that. We did a webinar on that, and we will do it again. Here's where and how you can get this kind of equipment. We started with an agency called ReCares, which is a phenomenal volunteer organization that takes donations of people's equipment they don't need anymore, right? Is this a concept that lights you up, lights me up? And they clean them and get them functional, and then they give them away for free. And this is, they have one in Oakland that we mentioned here. They have one in San Francisco. ReCares, you can look them up online and find all of the things you see below, plus bedside commodes. I can't even begin to name all of the mouse traps that are out there to help with functional mobility, to prevent falls and maintain independence. That said, Medicare and Medi-Cal do cover these in circumstances, like after a fall, your doctor, you do need a doctor's prescription to get one of these. And so after a fall, you might go to your doctor and say, I need to have an OT or PT, can you send them to me? And they can recommend equipment for you. So there is a doorway, a window through Medicare, through your doctor, to get this kind of equipment for free. Yeah. And when you're discharged from a hospital, that is sort of baked into that situation. I also mentioned here care partners that works with Daybreak. And with the grant that we have, we do provide DME for folks. It's income related. And as you can see here, rebuilding together, as Melissa already discussed. Right, Melissa?
And one thing I do want to say is if you are ever getting equipment that you get from ReCares, or you picked up at the Goodwill, or it's been passed down by a friend or family, please always take that in to your doctor or physical therapist and have it equipped to fit your own body. If you have a walker that's too high, you're going to end up with shoulder pain, too low, back pain. It really needs to be modified to fit yourself.
Great. Yeah. Next slide.
Okay. So employment challenges and helpful for caregivers. If you are working, be aware that there's something called paid family leave. Oop, and this actually says California, paid family leave, California. Little redundant. But anyways, if you go to that website, it gives you so much information. But also know that this is not just, if you're a parent or you're a spouse. If you're a caregiver, a sibling, a registered domestic partner, if you have foster children, it applies to a large range. If you are working, one of the best things to do is speak to your human resource department and get a little more information. The other thing that I do want to say is if you are working, a really important thing could be looking at these adult day health programs, because this is you have the person you are caring for in a secure, supportive environment. And it's really hard to work and take care of somebody at the same time.
Great. Next slide.
Help with utility bills. Wow, has everybody's bills around here have been huge. Gas has really gone up. It's been a very long, cold winter, at least in the Bay Area. So this is another one of those sites that you could go onto the Spectrum site and it will connect you to the low-income home energy assistance. There's kind of different ways of accessing, but be aware that there are these services. The PG&E Care program is probably the largest. And if you are in a certain income bracket, or if you have if your loved one is on oxygen or getting in-home dialysis, the type of equipment that requires more energy, you can qualify for these programs. There's the CARE program. There's also the FARA program, which is the Family Electric Rate Assistance. And the information, it's pretty clear, is on this website. There is a phone number. PG&E does answer. You just might be on hold for like 45 minutes, but they do eventually answer. I've tried. Then there's the low-income home energy assistance. This is usually a one-time payment to help somebody with the bills. But both of these, Spectrum, all these programs will lead you to this weatherization program. It's one time. Again, you have to qualify. Usually you will have to be already registered with the CARE program. and they come into your house and they don't just tell you what to do, they will do it. Maybe it's, sealing up the windows, the doors, trying to make your home more energy efficient.
Wonderful. Wow, what a great program. Yeah, next slide.
Okay, so food. There's a lot of different kinds of programs that meet various needs. Meals on Wheels is probably one of the best known programs. And this is a main number of Alameda County. I know in Berkeley, it will be a little different than where it comes out of San Leandro. If somebody is not able to provide cooking for themselves, food for themselves, maybe they're on pureed foods, it's very hard to eat. Not only will Meals on Wheels provide food, they will deliver that to your home. It's a really important thing to think about also if you're having surgery and you're going to have a 6-week recovery process. Here's the next one is SOS Meals on Wheels. And this kind of gets Oakland, Piedmont, Hayward, all a little bit different of areas. JSA is a Japanese kind of themed meal program that comes out of this cultural senior center. And so sometimes if somebody's gluten-free, they find that the Japanese meals are easier for them to eat. Spectrum Community Services, again, this is getting a different part of Alameda County than, the Berkeley, Albany area. But again, if you called any of these agencies, they would be able to tell you, no, this is what's in your area. Alameda County Food Bank, where you could pick up groceries. They have a helpline there. And then there's the Cal Fresh Outreach. Some of you may or may not be affected by the decreases that are happening in the Cal Fresh, which is also known as food stamps program. So the Alameda County Food Bank is really gearing up to be able to provide to a larger group of people. The Mercy Brown Bag program, they pack up groceries and they distribute it to 66 sites, most often the senior centers, but there's a variety. So there's a number, there's a website. Again, it's something you have to qualify for, but the information is all there.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Next slide. Yeah, so this is really important when you face these issues. You're having a problem with your health insurance, or you need assistance with who has control of your loved one's healthcare wishes. These are issues that when they come up, they may be a difficult issue to deal with at the time. And there are places where you can get this kind of assistance and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And I know that to get any kind of legal help usually does cost an arm and a leg. So this is a place to go, okay? And Daybreak and Rebuilding Together, all of these agencies do refer people to these type of agencies that can step in and even show up and testify for you. They have amazing resources. As you can imagine, there's a great need and you have to be patient, but just to know it's out there and you have some idea where to go to get some help with setting up these kind of issues, durable power of attorney, all of that. End of life wishes, and also dealing with your healthcare insurance, which can pose a problem that is costly and scary and all of that. So High Cap is one of those places. It's the second one listed here. The Ombudsman is for those of you that have loved ones in skilled nursing and you feel that they're not being managed, your loved one is not being managed properly, this is where to go. This is so important to know where to go. And as we'll say at the end of this, we're always going to be, you know, Daybreak is going to be available through our assistance hotline and through our newsletter to help continue to help with these kinds of issues. So next slide, please.
Okay, so I work with the Gateway program, and we were actually started by the Berkeley Age Friendly Continuum, where they felt that older people in the area needed to know about resources before a crisis happened. And they got funding and worked on building a program. And we've morphed many times in our going on 5 years. This is a program that currently is only accessible to people in Berkeley, Albany, and Emeryville, and we are planning on growing to Richmond. So if you are living in Berkeley, Albany, or Emeryville and are over 60, we offer a one-time free visit to your home where we have a conversation about aging, what's important to you, what are some challenges, and we leave you with a big book of binders that has a lot of these resources and pamphlets and handouts, and we kind of point out the resources that we think might be valuable to you based on the conversation. We are not acting as case managers. We don't tell you what to do, and we don't do the work for you, but really providing these resources in one place. But if you're not in one of these areas, you're always welcome to reach out to me by phone or my email, and I will certainly see if I could connect you to the appropriate resource. And something I'd like to recommend to people is, just grab mine. This is our Gateway resource notebook. But one of the things that we have seen is really valuable is if you keep a folder or a notebook, and anytime you're at the doctor's office, you're at the library, you see something, or a friend tells you about a great caregiver and you want to write down their name, keep all this information in one place because you never know when you're going to need it. I will just tell you from my father lived with being a double transplant recipient for 13 years. And between the caregivers and the home health agencies, we never knew what we were going to need next. And we really learned, I mean, it was a drawer, but there was just tons of information. And it was really helpful that we didn't have to search out and figure out where did we put that? Who do we call? So, you know, a lot of it's just really preparing, being proactive. So I thank you, and I welcome you to reach out.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Next slide. So we wanted to show you what you can find online. We've already talked about the Alzheimer's Association with their unbelievable resources. Family Caregiver Alliance is also an extraordinary wealth of information and assistance. You will be pleasantly surprised when you click on there and open their website. It's just a wealth. We've listed here Dr. Kernistan. I don't think I think we're not sure about the spelling. I went on her website and Melissa changed it back to a T.
No, I didn't.
No, okay. Well, who knows? And it doesn't matter because if you put in with a T or not, you will definitely find her. She is a geriatrician at UCSF, not UCSA, sorry. And she sends out a newsletter online, Better Health While Aging. And it is wonderful information. As I mentioned, she's a geriatrician and she really has she's got the beat. She really knows how important caregiving is and how as you age, you need this kind of support. So we encourage you to check this out. And then to mention the CDC, God bless them and all they've gone through during COVID. They have an amazing fall prevention section for seniors with pamphlets about how to make your home safe, the best exercise to do. As you can see here, we've listed some of their pamphlets, all free, of course. And next slide, please. Yeah, so I wanted to give you, I wanted to talk up this idea of books. And there are many amazing books out there now from caregivers and people that work with caregivers. I'm mentioning this one because Dr. Edward Shaw, is a physician who went back and got his degree in counseling after his wife was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. He cared for her with the help of his daughters. And he talks about what that was like for him. And he is the one that really helped me understand why people need to share their stories with other caregivers. So this is an excellent book. You know, you're not alone, and there is great gifts in this kind of loving care of your loved one. So I recommend this book and many others, of course. Next slide. And of course, thank you. And we will have, you will have access. We will send you a copy of this presentation with all the information, as well as another resource from Melissa and Gateway. And we do have a newsletter that is coming out, and we'll all let you have access to that if you're interested. And thank you again, and we look forward to helping you in your journey. We honor your work. Thank you.
Thank you.